Yep, Deepak.
Okay. After discussing that, why do we need monitoring and what is monitoring? It's time that what we usually do monitor, right? And again, this question comes to you, audience, that after considering or after understanding the aspects that why do we need to set up monitoring stack into infrastructure services, then what all matrices you gonna monitor or I'd say you're gonna observe that to keep your system services healthy. So up to you. It's all up to you that what all key points would you like to say? Okay, great. So I think that people came out to be a very in the bombardment form that it could be your application performance, it could be your CPU usage, it could be your memory usage, it could be your disk utilization, exception count, or requests on your network, right? If I say that, if I'm talking in terms of monitoring, then definitely we can categorize them under some resources. Say, if I say that if we really want to monitor our node, or we say the system service, then definitely it could be your CPU utilization, it could be your disk utilization or memory utilization, and definitely that could be categorized. All those matrices can be categorized under infrastructures monitoring, right? So that could be your first monitoring. And if I say the second monitoring, and which I personally consider as the specific and the structured type of monitoring, which I'll say is the logs type of monitoring. So definitely when you have set up your applications or your web service, so they do gonna have their logs creating, yeah. So it could be your in your wall log directory path, or wherever you mention your log path, right? So it's a basic monitoring stack. It's a basic monitoring, I say, which is more structured and which tells you the more detail that what did really happen, or the issue which arise while while serving your application or services into the market. So that's the second type of monitoring. And third could be your application performance. Specifically, if I talk about application performance metrics, then application response time is the major metrics which I'll say that which tells us about the amount of time application took to serve the request, right? So these are the basic kind of monitoring we usually monitor. And apart from this, we do have else, or we can say for those monitoring, it could be your operational monitoring, which we generally do. It could be your network monitoring, URL monitoring, vulnerabilities. For example, if you are observing or you are maintaining your security groups, if you're using the cloud services, user activity, that what all users have performed some actions or some did any analysis on your system service. So that's all the operational monitoring which we also can do apart from your infrastructure logs or application monitoring. Yeah. So next we have that how does monitoring works. When we have get the idea that why do we need monitoring and what is monitoring, then definitely the next would be at that how have to be monitoring implemented and what all monitoring consists of. So a basic three parts, that is your components, your data types, and the four golden signals. If I say about the components of the monitoring, so it comes out that definitely you're gonna first data collect. That means you will be collecting your matrices. It could be pull based or push based. About this, we'll be gonna talk in our upcoming slides. Then after collecting all those matrices, we definitely gonna store them somewhere. It could be of any database. Then after storing all those matrices, we have to visualize them. As we already discussed that we do have some NOC members or SRE members that they definitely might not be that much technically sound. So for them, we do need to visualize all those matrices. After visualizing the matrices, we have to analyze and report as per the issue arise. And after that, once the issue has been arise, we have to alert the concerned people or the developer. So that's the basic components of monitoring. If we move forward to data types, that is metric, event, logs, or tracing. In the short form, we can say consider it as MELT. And for this, I'll give you a clean example. I'll say that if I say that I'll take a basic example that if I have went to a vending machine and I want to get a packet of chips, and if somehow my vending machine is storing data in its backend side, so if it's storing in the type of event, then how data gonna look like? It could be it is storing the timestamp value that at this time event type could be your purchase, and the item purchase was BBQ chips, and the value of the item is 25. So that's the event type of data which right now your vending machine is storing. If I move forward to a metric type, then metric type is a metric which has been calculated over a period of time. So it's showing similar way that it's a timestamp, or it's showing that a total count of the purchase value. The metric name would be your purchase value, and the count is 13. The total value for it is 472, and the average is 36.4. So that's a metric type of data. If I say logs type of data, when do we require the logs type of data? So if I consider that if my vending machine was storing the data in the form of event type, and over here we can see an example that somehow my event type was purchase failed. So I went to buy a product, but I couldn't buy because purchase failed. But if I say that machine was storing the data in the form of event type, so that's not much clear that what wrong did happen in the backend side, and because of that I couldn't receive my product, or I couldn't bought my product. So if somehow my machine was storing the data in the form of logs, that could be much pretty clear that what all wrong did happen. So if I say that the timestamp was this, a user pressed button B, then the next timestamp user pressed button B9, and the error was the invalid code B9 by user, and that's why my item purchase failed. So that's pretty much more extensive, I can say, and pretty much more clear that what wrong world did happen behind the scene. So that's a log type of data. And the next and the last one was trace type of data, and again I'll say that somehow my vending machine was storing the data in the form of event type, and this time I say that my vending machine is accepting two ways of payment. That the first one is your credit card, and the second one is your the payment in the cash way. So somehow my duration for my transaction was 23 seconds, and if I'm considering as per the business perspective, definitely I'll say that my application or my any object should be performing well, and the less the response time would be, the more the application would be making the business. So that's a key aspect. So over here we can say my vending machine took a lot time, that would be your 23 seconds. So if the type of data was event, I over here as well I am not much clear that what all thing happened behind the scene. So if I'm saying that if I have a trace type of data, then it would make more clear about what all wrong things happened behind the scene. So the first could be a vending machine, that it's saying that it's 23 seconds of your total duration about your transaction. The second comes out to be your backend. So backend took only 6 seconds, but then the third scene is the credit card company issue that took 17 seconds. So over here by the trace type of data, I'm much more clear that it wasn't an issue from my side. It was the credit card company issue which took 17 seconds to complete a transaction. So these are the basic data types which monitoring follows, and we have covered it pretty clear. And at last, it comes about the 4 golden signals. That's pretty clear: latency, traffic, errors, and saturation. If I say latency, it's basic a time which takes to send a request and receive a response. If I say about traffic, traffic is just a request flowing over your network. If I say about the errors, it could be your broken dependencies, your configurations, or in the application code. And if I talk about saturation, saturations defines the basic load on your network or your server resources. So these are the 3 parts on which monitoring works. I hope this gives you a pretty clear idea and how to implement with it. Right. So moving further, we can say that we are pretty much clear with that why do we need monitoring and how does monitoring works. Now we can finally come to a main portion for which we have considered this session for today's workshop, and that is your why Prometheus. So the first key point which comes for Prometheus is that it's an open source tool, and I'll say that it's the tool which graduated under CNCF and developed by SoundCloud and it's also the second tool which graduated under CNCF after Kubernetes as well. So yeah, basically it's a Prometheus is an open source tool. That means it could be integrated with any of your service, be it a Linux VM machine, be it a Docker container. So you can pretty well install over there and start using it. It's then the second key point comes is that it's shows us custom integration. So you can integrate it with any of the third-party applications of your choice and perform the portion of the part of Prometheus from there as well. And the third is that Prometheus is a time series database. And if I talk about a time series database, I'll take a basic example which we usually cover in our school days, right? If I say if I have a x and y, if I have a graph plot and take considering its x-axis or y-axis, and over here what all curves it's showing is my data point, so it's my data. And on a time series database, definitely one of your access would be your timestamp. So what all data which is aggregated or downsampled over a period of time is your time series data, and that type of data is being stored into a time series database. So yeah, that's a basic example, and the key point that Prometheus is a time series database. And apart from this, Prometheus also provides some filtration methods that we'll gonna be discussed in the further slides as well. That which provides us a feature to query those matrices or the time series data in an easiest way. Yeah.
Deepak, I would like to add few points here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So, just like you explained, the Prometheus is an open source tool. So, the basic philosophy was behind the Prometheus was to keep things loosely coupled. They wanted to make things as easy as much as possible, so that people can also integrate it with their system. So, for example, one way was using the open source methodology. That if they open source the source code, it will be easier to do the active development on the project and the fixing the bugs. So they open source the solution. And just like Deepak was right, that it was developed by the SoundCloud developers who were the ex-Googlers, and they developed it used for the Kubernetes monitoring first. And yep, this was the second project which was graduated from the CNCF organization. Then we are talking about the custom integrations. So Prometheus does not have any foundation in terms of the programming language. So for example, you have a server and you have a client architecture, just like you have in any typical architecture. You have a server, you have a client. Now the thing is that your server could be written in any language, but your client could be on any different language as well. So the same philosophy will come here as well. So our Prometheus is written in Golang, but whatever the clients or the monitoring agent we have, we can write it in any language. So whether you know Python, Golang, shell scripting, you can write it in any language. And the third point which we have is like the time series database format of the Prometheus. So Prometheus follows the time series database. So whenever you store a data inside a Prometheus, it will come with a timestamp. So for example, you most of the guys have worked with the SQL database, I guess. So in the SQL database, you have a concept of a primary key, and over that primary key you do the segregation between the data rows and the columns. So whenever you have to do a searching, you do over the basis of the primary key. Similarly, in Prometheus or any time series database, we have this concept of the timestamp. So whatever the data which we are going to sample inside the Prometheus, we append a timestamp with it. So for example, you will see these are some stats which we are telling that this could be a population of a city. Now in 2004 this was the population, 2006 this was the population, and over that for every time period you have a population, and you will see inside 2004 and 2006 there are like 4 quarters as well, or you can say 8 quarters as well. So inside that 8 quarters you have the context for each and every quarter, that at this quarter this was the total population of this city. So you have a complete aggregation over that. Now this makes sense inside a monitoring system, because inside a monitoring system you don't only need the instant data, you need a time series analysis, because you want to go back and check what was the issue like on 7 days ago, why was the CPU spike happened 7 days ago. So you need to do the aggregation over the timestamp over the time series databases. That's why using a time series database inside the Prometheus makes sense. It's not about only Prometheus. If you use any kind of time series database like Influx or anything, they come into the time series manner, because a lot of monitoring tool makes sense here. So that's pretty much from my side as well. I guess one more point, yeah. So basically, let's take an example of some other monitoring tool as well. So for example, you take Zabbix, Telegraph, or any other monitoring tool. What is the philosophy there? So they have a server and they have an agent which is sending the data. Now inside that agent they have included all the plugins. Now when you are installing an agent, you are installing it for like Redis only. You want to monitor Redis, but it's like coming with MySQL, MongoDB, and on that system you are not running MySQL and MongoDB at all. Now that is more resource intensive in terms of CPU and memory. But when we talk about the Prometheus, for each type of software they have a different monitoring agent. Let's suppose I want to monitor the MySQL. For MySQL they have a different monitoring agent. I want to monitor MongoDB. For MongoDB I have a different monitoring agent. According to my use case, I can set up that monitoring agent on the system, which is very lightweight, and in terms of resources I will use it very efficiently. So that's another point which we can take, that why we can use Prometheus in any monitoring system. So yeah, Deepak, over to you.
So yeah, so if I say that whatever data you are indexing over here would be on the basis of your timestamp. If your basic consideration that what all Abhishek said was that if you are talking in terms of traditional databases, and definitely you will be having a case of your primary key over there, which you will be definitely going to set up onto your row or column. But over here, every data point would be indexed over a data or your timestamp. Each and every data point would be indexed over a timestamp over here in time series database. Yeah. Then we come to that what is Prometheus. As we already discussed, that Prometheus was originally developed by SoundCloud developers to monitor the system like Kubernetes. After that, it was a second project which graduated under CNCF after Kubernetes. Prometheus also provided native support to some services, which means that they doesn't require any kind of monitoring agent. For example, Kubernetes etcd is SkyDNS. So it's a pretty good feature of Prometheus. And the last, it is that Prometheus is a time series database which scrapes the metric from HTTP or HTTPS endpoint and written in Golang. So over here, the new term or the key term which scraps means is just you're pulling the metrics. So Prometheus is basically a pull-based tool which pulls the metrics from your target endpoints on the basis of your HTTP or HTTP endpoints. Why Prometheus is different from others? Prometheus doesn't depends on a particular monitoring agent. Also, exporters can be written in any language. So if I say basic consideration was that the way which we talked in the previous slide was that some of the native applications in a system, in an ecosystem, do come up with the Prometheus way of styling, that they on its own provide all those matrices where Prometheus can scrap on its own. So this is the one thing. And if somehow your application doesn't provide those endpoints and all those matrices, then we have a concept of exporters as well. And those exporters can be set onto your target endpoints, and these exporters can also be written in any language. It's not compulsory that they have to be written in Golang. So Prometheus do support multiple client libraries, and you can write as per your own language in whichever you comfortable are. Second, it's a time series database, so we can easily take an incremental backup of our monitoring data. Service discovery feature is offered in Prometheus. By using this feature, we don't have to define static targets and configuration. It's a advanced feature which also be covered in this today's workshop. And at last, a flexible query language in form of PromQL for time series data aggregation and prediction. So it provides a PromQL language which helps us to easily query and aggregate our data as per our requirement. So again, we can talk a bit about a time series database. So over here we can see that one of our axes again is saying that it's a time consideration, and at the y-axis it says the temperature of a city, San Mateo, and over here we can see that each data point has been indexed over a timestamp, and we can see that from starting from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. we have many data points of our temperature, which is saying that what was the temperature around the city.
Right. So timestamp could be, it's not like that timestamp should be in hours only. Timestamp could be the difference between a nanoseconds as well. So for example, if you are pushing a data, that the current timestamp will be the timestamp of that data which is pushed. So it could be nanosecond difference as well, and over that we can do the aggregation inside the time series. So one of the thing which we have inside the time series database is that we don't only push the data over the timestamp, we can do the aggregation or downsampling over it. For example, if I want some average, like what was the average temperature between 12 p.m. or 4 p.m, I can do that. I want to do the downsampling. For example, I want to have some labels of city inside it, and I want to get the information about the temperature according to the city, so I can do the downsampling over that as well. So there are multiple benefits of using a time series database. A lot of people use this time series database in terms of application as well. So for example, IoT is a very big thing which is using the time series database extensively, because it's all about sending the data. So they have the Internet of Things which is sending the data. Now it's like if you store that data inside a relational database, that it will be difficult to do the aggregation over it, because In terms of IoT, you will be sending the data quite frequently, and you have to monitor that data, analyze it, and downsample it. So in that case, time series database make a lot of sense. Not only Prometheus, a lot of people use different kind of time series databases, like you have Apache Druid and Elasticsearch. So IoT is a very very big thing which is using time series databases extensively.
Yeah. So if we say in normal human words and in layman language, we can say the time series database is a database which simply track, monitor, aggregate, and downsample data over the time. So that's a bit intro for time series database. Next, we come to the main concept and the main topic as well. That's the Prometheus architecture. That what all components Prometheus comes up with and what all does it do. So the basic or the key component of Prometheus would be this Prometheus server, right? And it consists of three parts, which stating one is your retrieval. It could be considered as a data retrieval worker. The second one is your time series database itself, and the third one is HTTP server. So data retrieval worker would be the one would be responsible that in pulling and scrapping all those matrices from your target endpoints. After that, after pulling all those matrices, it gonna address or store all those data matrices into a time series database. And after that, Prometheus provides its own HTTP server endpoint from where you can easily query your matrices and can visualize them on Prometheus web UI, or it could be Grafana or any third-party visualization application or tool. So that's the basic key component or the architecture of Prometheus, we can say. And now, if we talk about the other part, basically, if I say the push gateway, so that's a topic which we'll be covering in the upcoming session or the upcoming slide as well. But if I'm talking about just this, about this key components of the Prometheus, then after collecting all your matrices from your target endpoints, after storing it into a time series database and querying it from a HTTP server, definitely we're gonna make few conditions on all those matrices. So somehow if those conditions are achieved or arise, then definitely we're gonna alert to the concerned person or the developer. Then we have also a component called as alert manager, which can be integrated with Prometheus server. And after achieving that issue or after coming to that point, then Prometheus, we configure some alerts rules, and Prometheus its own alert triggers to the alert manager. And after alert manager getting triggered by Prometheus server, it's all configured with your receiver parties. It could be PagerDuty, email, Slack, etc. And alert manager will be alerting all on those receiver parties. So that's the basic key idea about Prometheus architecture, and we'll be covering each and single entity in our upcoming slides as well. So after this, we have a lab one in which you can set up a Prometheus into your servers and can visualize it on your own. So yep. Okay. I hope people have visualized Prometheus on their servers. And if I say that, if I show on my site, so yeah, so that's the basic web UI which you have seen onto your systems. And if I say that Prometheus on its own helping to give out some matrices, and if you can see over here, so the basic two attributes or the unit monitor target for matrices by the Prometheus side would be in the form of two attributes. That would be, the first one is the help attribute and the type attribute. So if I talk about the help attribute, so it's basically a metadata or the description which is telling about the matrices which has been collected or stored by Prometheus. And the type would be the metric type, right? And over here we have two types of metric. First would be your counter metrics and the other would be your gauge metrics. If I talk about counter metrics, then we can state in a simple statement that whatever thing which or I'll say that how many times something happened, right? So basically it's a counter type of metrics. For example, we can take a number of exceptions or a request rate. It could be a counter type of metric. And if the second one was the gauge metrics, so gauge metrics is something which can go up and down as per the requirements or as per the performance which is giving. So if I take an example of a speedometer while driving or riding your scooty, So the speedometer is considered to be a gauge meter. So sometime you go to a 60 or 80 kilometer per hour speed, or sometime you go to 20 kilometer per hour speed. So that's a gauge type of metric, right? So that's the basic metric which Prometheus stored. Next, we move forward to that what all model does Prometheus follow. So we have already discussed from our previous slide as well that Prometheus is a time series database, and it scrapes the metrics from your target endpoints. So it clearly says that your Prometheus is a pull-based model, right? So over here in the diagram, we can easily see that we have 3 target endpoints, and Prometheus on its own is scraping the metrics. So if I say that how does Prometheus scrapes all those matrices, is that your target endpoints or your native application should be much capable of exposing all those matrices at his or her host address with the slash matrix option, and in a correct format that would be a time series format. So that's a basic requirement for Prometheus, that your target endpoints should be exposing all those matrices, and after that I'll be able to scrap all those matrices. So this could be considered as a basic example, that if I say this is my target endpoint, then it should be exposing all those matrices in this form. That could be a host address, it could be a local host, or it could be any of your IP addresses which you have mapped to your target endpoint, and the slash matrix option. After that, your the Prometheus servers, the component of Prometheus server, that's the retrieval worker, will pull all those matrices on its own, and it's gonna push that into a time series database of Prometheus. So that's the key aspect that Prometheus works on. Sorry. Okay, and if we say that if we are comparing it to a push-based model, so over here the thing comes is into the picture is that in your target endpoints, all those endpoints should be having a daemon or agent set up on those servers. So over here in the push-based model, your database or your time series database won't be much capable of pulling all those matrices. You have to set up a daemon or an agent on your target endpoints, and that would be the responsibility of that agent or daemon to push those matrices to that database. So what's the key difference over here, I'll say, is that when you are setting up an agent or daemon over here, so it's all the responsibilities and all the processes which are taking place would be on your servers, on your target endpoints. So, and which comes out to be increasing your resource utilization, it could be, or it could be your CPU utilization. So over here in the push-based model, that's the major drawback. And if we say about the pull-based model of Prometheus monitoring stack, so over here you just need your target endpoints, and if your native applications are capable of exposing all those matrices, then it's all the duty or responsibility of Prometheus and it has to handle all those processes to pull your matrices from your target endpoints. So that's the basic key difference between pull-based model and the push-based model. Next, it comes to push model in Prometheus. And if I say that we just read that Prometheus is a pull-based model, then why we are saying that Prometheus is a push-based model too? So if I say, consider that you have into your infrastructure some cron jobs or some scheduled jobs, for example, that you have to clear your data, which is prolonged since 90 days or more than 90 days. So you have to clear all that data so that you can free your memory, you can free your disk, space out your disk, right? So for that, you don't need your continuous monitoring from Prometheus side, and it's basically a kind of job in which you just want to know that if was your job successful, or was your job came out to clear all that data which was much older than 90 days. So that's a single point of metrics which you want to know. It could be once in a day, or it could be once in a week as well. So for that kind of situations, what Prometheus provides from its end is that you have a push gateway model type. If you it could be your any kind of application, it could be of any type of language as well. So we already discussed that Prometheus does support with multiple client libraries. For over here, what you can do is you can create your script for that, or you can customize your application in such a way that it's able to give out that metrics, whatever metrics you want to observe for it, to the push gateway. And after push gateway, it's push gateway's duty that to expose that metrics to the endpoint, and after that Prometheus is well capable of pulling that metrics from the push gateway. So in end, Prometheus again comes out to be a pull based model. It's just because the kind of application or the kind of job which you want to monitor for a single period of time, and for that you just have to customize your application or customize your job in such a way that it's gonna push that metrics to push gateway, and after that Prometheus is gonna pull the metrics from push gateway. So Prometheus doesn't actually exactly supports the push based model directly. To achieve the push based model in Prometheus, we can use another part of Prometheus, that is push gateway. Push gateway receives the metrics from the different exporters or agents, and after that Prometheus pulls the data from push gateway. Yeah. So
Deepak, I would like to add a few
yeah,
points here.
sure.
So, guys, when we were discussing that, for example, if you don't know any programming language and still you want to push some custom kind of data inside the Prometheus, so this is the way through which we can do. So basically, Prometheus is asking one thing for you. It is asking for an endpoint on which you have a time series data format of Prometheus, and Prometheus can pull the data from there. Now, that data can be generated using the shell script as well. But the limitation is that in the shell script, you don't have a web endpoint, or it's not a programming language, it's more like a scripting language. So you cannot import the libraries and create a web endpoint through which you can expose that data. Now, to export that data, you can have a mediator in between. So push gateway can be a mediator in between. So basically, whenever we are saying we have a push gateway, it's not like the push gateway is pushing the metrics to the Prometheus. It's more likely sitting in between. So which is getting the data from different systems. So for example, one of my server is sending some data to the push gateway, so we are pushing the data to push gateway, but after that the Prometheus will take the push gateway as an endpoint, and it will scrap the data from the push gateway. So similar example when Deepak was telling, for example, you have a node exporter is already there which can monitor all the systems stats, but let's suppose you still want to monitor some custom stats like the cron job monitoring and all those stuff. For that you still do want to do the monitoring. In that case, what you can do, you can write a shell script which can generate the data inside the time series format of Prometheus, and after that whatever the stats which you have generated, you can push it to the push gateway, which has two endpoint, one endpoint to receive the thing, and one endpoint to expose that metrics. So basically on the push gateway endpoint we will push that data, and after that on the second endpoint the Prometheus will pull that data. So we can simply write whatever the logic which we want to push inside the Prometheus in using a shell script as well. So push gateway provides us that level of flexibility. Yeah, Deepak, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. So next we move to exporters, right? So what does exporters do? So if I say that we already discussed that Prometheus, what does Prometheus data retrieval worker and component need is that your target should be capable of exposing an endpoint, and within HTTP endpoint it should expose that metrics in the form of /metrics option as well. So that's the key requirement for Prometheus. One is this, and the other one is your time series data format. So that's the basic key requirement for a Prometheus server. But somehow if your target endpoints doesn't provide that feature, so in that case what Prometheus says is that you can set up an exporter or an agent onto your target endpoints, and then it would be its responsibility to fetch the metric from your target endpoint and give out that web address, that endpoint, that HTTP endpoint with the select metrics exposer, and convert all that data which it has been fetched into a time series format. So the question arises that what is the basic difference between an exporter or a push gateway? So a push gateway, in push gateway condition, what you were doing was that with the customization of your scripts or your client library support, you were pushing that data into the push gateway, and push gateway then was enabling that feature to expose the endpoint of that metrics, and then afterward Prometheus was pulling that matrices. But over here in the case of exporter is on its own fetching all those matrices, providing a time series format and exposing an endpoint of that matrix, and after that it's the same process that Prometheus on its own gonna pull those matrices from the exporter. So that is what exporter all about. So if we say exporters are kind of monitoring agent for Prometheus, which fetches the data from different system and softwares and convert them into a Prometheus time series format. A single exporter exports the metrics for a particular kind of system software. For example, Redis exporter will export data for Redis database. And exporters can be categorized in two parts. It could be third party and official as well. So for more information, we can just visit the official Prometheus website. And at last, exporters can be written in any language, not necessarily in Golang because of multiple client library support. So that is pretty well discussed as well. And it's a bit graphical representation which showing that we have three resources. The first one is your Kubernetes cluster. Second one is your Redis, Redis resource onto your servers, and third one is your infrastructure server on its own. So for as we discussed that if somehow your native applications do provide that endpoint with the metrics large and expose those matrices, then Prometheus on its own gonna scrap all those matrices. But somehow if your application or your resources doesn't, then you have to set up an exporter upon it, and after that Prometheus gonna scrap all those matrices from that exporter. And similarly for in the case of infrastructure server as well, you have to set up an example of node exporter over here we can see, and after setting up a node exporter, it's gonna convert that data into a time series format and expose an endpoint for those matrices, and after that Prometheus gonna scrap all those matrices, system matrices as well. So I hope the basic aspects and the basic requirement of exporter is also cleared among you all. After understanding the concept of the methodology on which Prometheus works, after understanding the concept of push gateway, or we can say exporters, now it's time to discuss about the configuration of Prometheus. That how will you tell Prometheus that what all target endpoints would be and from where you have to scrap all those matrices. So that's each and everything is defined under configuration of Prometheus. So first block says about the global, in which it consists of scrap interval and evaluation interval. So scrap interval is nothing, it's a duration in which you tell Prometheus that at what interval of time you have to scrape those matrices from your target endpoints. So over here it says that in 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds Prometheus is gonna scrap those matrices from your target endpoints. Right. The second one comes out to be your alerting scope, in which you define your alerting tools endpoints. If you are creating any customized alerts for your system resources, then definitely it's gonna be integrated with your alerting tool, in which you gonna provide an alerting endpoint for your tool. The third comes your custom rules. About this we're gonna talk in further slides as well. So, but just consider that people saw that what all those matrices are coming into the Prometheus web UI. So it could be your system matrices, it could be your application matrices, or it could be on its own Prometheus matrices which it shows up to us. So somehow there is a complexity of matrices, or we can say we have to aggregate as per our requirement, but each and every time we can't use all those matrices directly into the execution period of time. So what we do is we create an expression for that, and to simplify all those things, we create custom rules in our Prometheus server. So that's a basic configuration which we provide for the custom rules created file. And when we talk about the custom created rules, that evaluation interval is for custom created rules, that when your custom rules have to be evaluated, and for that as well we have provided a 15-second scrapping period. And at last we provide the scrap configuration, which says that what all would be your endpoints and from where does Prometheus have to scrap all those matrices from. So that's a basic key configuration of Prometheus, and I hope it's pretty much clear. And now it's time to come up with the second lab, in which we gonna set up some exporters onto our system servers. It would be a node exporter and a SQLD exporter, and as per that you gonna configure your Prometheus configuration file as well, in which you will be defining your scrape configs and after that you can see on the Prometheus dashboard all those matrices and explore on your own. So yeah. Okay, I hope we have all gathered back. Now it's time to talk about PromQL. So we already discussed that Prometheus provide a flexible language, that is PromQL, to analyze or to query all those matrices as per our requirement. So PromQL is one of them. So PromQL is a Prometheus language for creating and executing queries to extract or aggregate data in Prometheus. Pretty much what does PromQL says. And second, it uses Prometheus key value based data representation and returns the value. Okay. And third is that some example of Prometheus vectors are range vector or instant vector. So if I say, or if I talk in terms of the queries over here directly, so I'll say that HTTP request total, taking an example of this matrix, we can say over here we are getting a matrix value over here. So it shows that it shows that a Prometheus is a key value based data representation and returns the value. So over here we can configure and we can mention it out that we have a key value name for any of our matrices, and for it does show the value. So it's an instant vector. If we consider it as a simple way, it's an instant vector. It will give the data output for the last time interval. It's showing us that. So presently, right now we have executed this, and if we keep on successively executing these metrics, it's gonna show us the value for the last time of interval, right? And if I provide a range for it, so it's gonna provide me the matrices for the last duration, which we have mentioned is over here is 5 minutes. So over here it's showing me the multiple data points for this respective metric name, and over here we can see 20 matrices, 20 reading data points. So how can we say that why did it shows the 20 data points? It's pretty clear that we have provided a 5 minute of range for this specific metric, and we just discussed in the configuration file as well that we provided an interval duration of 15 seconds to scrap those matrices. So that's why if we say the 5 minutes into 60 seconds, that provide us 300 seconds, and if we divide it by 15, then it gives us 20. So for it's a reading value for each 15 seconds which has been scrapped by Prometheus. So that's a basic of range vector and an instant vector which we talked about, right? And if we say that if we want to visualize these values, these key matrices, then if I talk in terms for instant vector, then Prometheus in itself can shows those values, because for each timestamp we have a data point, and it's easily able to show us the graph as well. But if we talk about the range vector, then and execute it, then it's gonna throw an error that invalid expression type range vector for any range query must be scalar or instant vector. So that's a pretty design about Prometheus, that Prometheus is, if you want to see a graph for a range, so you have to provide a function for your key metrics, so that after providing that function, it would be considered into a scalar or an instant vector. Then after it, we can see the graph as well. So if I say for this value, if I have to see a graph, what you can do is you can provide a function over here, and these functions are just not limited to a rate function. Prometheus provides us multiple functions which we can use for as per our queries or as per our aggregation. So if now we execute it, we can see the graph as well. So over here, basically for all the data points, it's calculating these matrices at the duration interval period of time for 5 minutes of average. So that's pretty much clear, I think, for the instant vector and the range vector. Next we talked about that how helpful PromQL is in form of filtrations which it provides from its side. Is that over here you can see a simple model that it's a key value metric name, and for it's showing a value as well, or we can say over here we have provided a range for it. Then if you want to filter it out, as just consider an example that if you are having 50 servers into your infrastructure, then definitely sometime you want to look for a specific metric or specific server metric. Then with the help of these labels or these handlers, you can filter out that server of your requirement. So that's a pretty example which it's showing over here, that model with label. Over here you can it's an example of method which is giving us the get value, and a label and filter as well for job specific with a regular expression, and again a method of get, and the range of 5 minutes. So if I consider an example of this as well, so you can see over here that if I even don't take any function or range, so over here you can see multiple servers are providing me this single type of key metrics. And if I want to see a specific type of key metric, then what can I do is over here these handlers or these labels can be picked up from here as well. So I say that I want this kind of handler of filtration of labels. If I clear this one out, and if I say that I want for my instance localhost 1990 and job Prometheus and method get, and if I execute, then you can see the data has been outcome to in a shortlist. So some data has been reach out from over here, because these are the specific handlers which I have defined, and for these specific handlers Prometheus is showing me the data over here. So that's the pretty filtration which PromQL defined.
Maybe Deepak, you can show the example of doing a group by as well. So you can go to that query panel again.
Yep.
Write the complete query. Remove the this. What you can say? You remove the handler. I guess handler is already not a part of it. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just do it.
Okay. If you are saying that I have to clear the instance one.
No. Clear the handler one.
Okay. The handler one.
Yeah. In the end, do a by. That's fine. You can do a by after that. In the end of the query, go to the end of the query.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not here. Just after the curly braces.
Okay.
The last curly braces. Space by.
By.
In the bracket, type handler. Not curly bracket, normal brackets.
Okay.
Do execute this query. Okay. So sorry, you have to put some this as well. Put
the code.
This thing as a in the bracket as well. This Prometheus query itself. The before the by content, put that is as well inside the bracket. No, you are right.
I have to put inside over here.
No. Can you share me the URL? Maybe I can try that.
Sure.
In the chat. Yeah, you can share in the Hangout chat itself.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, no issues. Okay, let me share my screen. You can also see it. So the example which we were talking about, let's suppose I want to do the HTTP request total. So Deepak explained it pretty well, that this is my query and these are the labels. So for example, label are for the identification or for the data filtration which we want to do inside the Prometheus, and we have this value here. So for example, right now I want to get information of the get method only, so I can put it like this. I can put it like this, and I will get the information for the get method. Now I want to do a group by on the basis of, you can say, status code or handler. So what I have to do, I will simply say put these things as in bracket, and after that I can say do the count, or give me the 200 and 500 status code. So if you see here in the for the 200 status code, we have like 53,000 53,035 requests, and on for 400 status code we have 22 requests. So similarly, if I want to do on the basis of handler as well, you can do a group by as well inside it. So for example, for Prometheus we got like 52,000, for static we got like 63 requests. So that's how we can do the group by as well inside the Prometheus query. Similarly, you have the model of defining a regular expression. So for example, you don't want to, you have some data, and over that, for example, that all data is starting from the Prometheus. Now that could be like promotion, prompt, anything, but you want to do, for example, whatever the data which is starting with the prompt, it should visualize here. So you can define regular expression as well. So for example, we have the syntax, and after that, whatever the regex we want to define, we can define it here. Sorry, I missed the curly braces here. So if I execute it, you will see for the Prometheus we are getting the data. So that's how you can do it for this as well. Over to you, Deepak.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhishek.
No issues.
Okay, I hope we have covered PromQL pretty well. And if we say that only this much is the use case from PromQL, so we would say that no, there are enough number of cases, and as per your requirements and as per your aggregation, you can try as many of your queries you want to, and you can aggregate your data as per your requirement. So that's pretty much about PromQL. Next part is that after visualizing and after collecting or storing your matrices at Prometheus site, definitely we want to create some alerting as well for our data matrices of our system resources. So over here, then it's a component comes into a picture, that is Alert Manager. So Alert Manager is used to handle alerts for client applications like Prometheus, and it also take care of alert deduplicating, grouping, and then route them to a different receiver such as email, Slack, PagerDuty. Right. So if we talk about that, it's only capable to integrate with Prometheus, so it's a big no. Alert Manager could be considered as a single entity on its own, and you can integrate it directly to your servers. What does Alert Manager needs is just a configuration file of your alerts, whichever you want to create for your system matrices, and a configuration for a receiver party. It could be your email or Slack or a PagerDuty or any other third party as well. So yeah, so that what it says, that Alert Manager can be configured via command line flags and a configuration files. Prometheus Alert Manager can be set up and as an individual component as well, and can be get used to send notifications to different mediums via webhook trigger. So we already discussed it. It's a basic graphical representation depicting that we over here we have two different Prometheus servers, in which we have already created a customized alert rules, and we have a single server or a single entity as acting for these both Prometheus servers. And after achieving that situation or condition which we have created in both these Prometheus servers, then alerts gonna be triggered from Prometheus side to the Alert Manager, and it should be Alert Manager duty to notify at your concerned receiver addresses. It could be Slack, it could be email, or to a concerned notified person as well, with the help of SMS or in call. That also you can integrate with your Alert Manager. So yep, that's a basic about Alert Manager. And now we come for our third lab, which defines us about to play with basic queries, and then after playing with the queries, you can create your customized rule as well, custom rules, and after that at last you will be creating alerts as per your requirements, and integrating it with Alert Manager. So if I show you over here, we can see that after creating your custom rules and alerts, over here it's gonna show us that over here you can see that custom rules. So we have created some rules over here for it. For example, it shows the node percent mem free percent. So that was the aggregate method which I was talking about. It would be hard or tedious work to remember each and every time, and to pick this and to place at this Prometheus executing panel and to execute all those matrices. What we can do is we can create our custom rules, and after that we can directly give an alias. It could be considered as an alias for Prometheus. So after clicking on it, we can get directly the value for it. So that's the basic custom rule creation, and after that you can even see your alert rules creation over here. So it says that about host out of memory. So it would be calculating if your percentage go comes under 65%, then it gonna uh, trigger an alert and notify the concerned person as well. So that's pretty much about lab number 3. And at last, I hope you performed the last lab well. And at last, now we'll be covering the final topic of our workshop today. That would be a Prometheus service discovery. The quite amazing feature what Prometheus provides us. That if I take a considerate example, that definitely you people never gonna be working only with just 2 or 3 servers. There will be multiple servers into your infrastructure. So it would be a hard and tedious task that again and again to enter that scrap config configuration into your Prometheus.yaml file. So then what could be the workaround after that or apart from that? So what does Prometheus provide is a service discovery concept from its end, and over here, and what does it say? It says that it's hard to update the configuration file each time if we have a large infrastructure. To overcome this, Prometheus supports service discovery feature. In Prometheus service discovery, the machine or agents will automatically get registered to be monitored. No service restart required in case of new monitoring agents. And Prometheus supports service discovery with different services like AWS, GCP, Azure, Kubernetes, Console, Docker, and DigitalOcean as well. So it's not basically just limited to AWS cloud services. It integrate with multiple services as well. So over here we are taking an example
Deepak, one point I would like to add there. So for example, you are saying that you are working in a cloud environment, in that you have tons of servers, and over those tons of servers you want to monitor inside the Prometheus. So you can monitor using the service discovery model there. Now there could be some cases where you want to monitor some specific software on some specific instances. So for example, there are like 5 instances which is having MySQL, and all servers you want to monitor for the node exporter dashboard. So for the node monitoring. In that case, so you can do a grouping over the tag basis inside the cloud. So for example, you can have a DB tag, and inside the Prometheus service discovery you can say that you need to monitor this DB port on the instances which has a DB tag. So through that you can control the grouping as well inside the cloud provider. Let's suppose you are not using a cloud provider as well, and you have some different kind of mechanism. For example, you are working in on-prem environment, and you don't want to do the configuration file update manually each and every time. So what you can have a console service discovery in place. So you can simply say that whenever your server is coming up, they can register themselves to the console, and after that console can pick this the server IPs and the ports from the console and can monitor it. So every time you need to monitor a service, you just have to add an agent inside your image of the machine. Whenever it is coming up, it will come up with that agent, and it will get registered on the console, and after that console will start monitoring using it. The Prometheus will start monitoring it using the console service discovery. So Prometheus does support the service discovery with multiple cloud providers like AWS, GCP, Azure, and for each and every service discovery provider, they have a different kind of configuration. So for example, in AWS we have this tag concept. Maybe in Azure or GCP some resources we don't have that concept, so we will be using it differently there. So that's how the service discovery works inside the Prometheus part. Yeah, so this is one of the examples. So where we are talking about. So for example, we have a Prometheus. Now we can provide the Prometheus access with an AWS access key or the IAM instance profile as well. So if you are running inside AWS environment itself, I would recommend the IAM profile is a much suitable way, because that restrict the chances of getting exposed the access key or the secret key. Once we have provided the Prometheus server the access, we just need the EC2 read only access. After that, what we can do, we can simply say Prometheus to register the targets from the EC2 tag. So for example, we can say the first batch is the MongoDB, second batch is the MySQL. So we can say that start monitoring MongoDB port on these tags of instances, or the MySQL on the basis of these tags, and then we can monitor it. So that's the architecture which we have shown in inside of AWS environment that could be replicated a little bit of changes with different cloud providers. So for example, in Azure there will be service principal. In GCP you will be having a service account. In Consul you will not be having anything because Consul does come with the without any authentication. But yeah, for each service discovery provider we will have a basic set of different configuration. Yeah,
Yeah.
over to you, Deepak.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. And that's over here we come to our last part, and it's a last lab as well, which gives you an idea about that how to integrate your service discovery feature with an EC2 SD config. So you can visit this lab and perform this lab on your own, and that will give you a pretty good idea that how can you can implement the service discovery feature onto your infrastructure. And at last, we'll conclude with a summary that what all topics which we have covered. Its first point which covers is that we covered why monitoring, types of monitoring, and its working. After that, we had a discussion on Prometheus, which was a time series database and was scrapping metrics from your HTTP or HTTPS endpoint. After this, which we discussed a bit about Prometheus architecture and its workflow model as well. Exporters and Prometheus configurations, in which we set up using the lab, the node exporter and the SQLD exporter. After that, we had a view about PromQL, that how flexible query language this is and what all features does it provide. And at last, we covered the alert manager concept and the service discovery concept. And at last, I'll love to say that thank you to all of you for joining this session, and I hope we achieve to deliver the objectives. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining this session.